Today we're talking to author and psychotherapist Rachelle Katz. Rachelle Katz is the author of a self-help book called The Happy Stepmother. She's a marriage and family therapist as well as an addiction specialist and received her doctorate from Teachers College, Columbia University. She's been married for 20 years and has a 25-year-old stepdaughter. Rachelle, thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Tell us what we have today.
Well, this is going to be the flying squirrel. It has orange juice in it, and then it has a couple of other ingredients.
Okie dokie.
So, shall I pour
Yep.
at the beginning?
Okay. It seems like a very eclectic mixture, doesn't it?
Yes, with some interesting
Yes.
flavors.
Yes.
It's got triple sec,
Yep.
Cuervo Gold, a little bit of lime juice, and sweet and sour mix.
Yeah, I hadn't come
So-
across sweet and sour before.
It's an interesting taste.
Are you
Yes.
familiar with it?
Only in this drink, actually. So let's
Okay.
pour a little of this.
Okay. Okie dokie. That's our triple sec, and now our Cuervo.
I hope I don't spill any
That's
on
all
your
right, don't worry.
counter.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Just make sure you share it properly.
Share it with the counter. All right, and then
Okay.
we just add a little bit of lime juice.
Just a dash.
Just a dash.
Okay.
Might
very
be
good.
almost a little too much. And a little bit, again, of this sweet and sour.
Okay. Lovely. Do we need to stir?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like a party. Okay, let's see.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, it smells very strong.
The orange juice cuts it though, right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, very nice. I recommend that. Okay, so your book, The Happy Stepmother, tell us how that came about. How did that come into being?
Well, I got married to a man who had a 4-year-old daughter. And when we got married, I was surprised how challenging the role was, given the fact that my stepdaughter has always been very well behaved, very smart, and easy to be with. And yet I felt as it was hard to really get close to her. And I also, at the same time, started having more stepmothers in my practice who came in and they were exhausted and low self-esteem, and they were complaining about, really being depressed and miserable.
And were these new stepmothers or long time
Actually, they were new and old.
spread?
Because I think being a stepmother can be challenging at very different times throughout a marriage. So anyway, I decided I wanted to do some more research about this. I felt like I had the best of any situation, and yet it was hard for me. So I started to wonder what other stepmothers were experiencing. So I set up an online questionnaire. It was 120 questions on this website,
Right.
Steps for Stepmothers.
Is that still active?
The website is still active, but I took off the questionnaire once I finished using it. In the first year, I had 3,000 responses. It was amazing.
And without having advertised it, people just found
I
it?
put a little Google ad that said stepmother, and that was all, and it was very reasonable. I think I spent $75 a month, so there weren't a lot of hits that I paid for. That was the only advertising, and so 3,000 women responded in the first year, and then in the second year I got another 3,000 responses. But at the same time that I put up the questionnaire, I put up a posting board because I felt that stepmothers could really help each other, give advice, support, encouragement, and it just took off.
Right.
And actually I got most of my research from the posting board.
Did you?
So that still remains.
And do people go on there year after year and keep posting, or do they go does it take 6 months to get, over the worst, or?
I think people stay on for a period of time, and then maybe they get over their situation improves or they don't need it as much, and then they come back. So people come and go. There have been, I think, around 8,000 women who've registered for it. I would say at any time, though, maybe there are 50 women who are actively using it.
Right. And what is the difference? Why would someone go to the website rather than the book? What's the difference in experience?
Well, the website is really peer support. It's really stepmothers helping each other.
Right.
In The Happy Stepmother, I really think it's more based on research and what is currently seen as helpful in the mental health community right now.
Okay.
So I think the book is more diversified because not only does it recommend how to communicate better with a partner, how to do certain things for yourself, hypnosis, meditation, and it talks about boundaries. The website is other stepmothers helping each other with very specific issues. So they will ask each other specific things and then get some advice.
Okay. So it sounds like the book is more of a handbook. You could buy that sort of in preparation for your role or for help just to keep by your bedside sort of thing.
A lot of people have said to me that the book is good for anyone. You don't have to be a stepmother to really have it because it's basic mental health principles.
Right. Right.
But I think you can keep referring to it. It is good to keep going back to. And at certain times, I think one might have an issue with boundaries, that family members are violating your boundaries, and you could read that chapter. And then another time, it could be more about, how to communicate more effectively with your partner.
Okay, so that's interesting. It's helpful to more than just stepmothers. And how was the process of writing the book for you? Was it
torture?
Was it really?
Yes.
Was it? Why? Tell us.
I am the slowest writer in history, and I plod along. So it took me a long time to do it. And I don't consider myself a writer. I consider myself a psychotherapist who had something to say.
Right.
And I really, tried to say it as in a readable form.
Okay. So for any non-fiction writers out there, did you write a chapter list and then did you write the whole book?
That would be nice and organized. No. I had some basic ideas of what I thought was important, and then I changed the steps. I put things in one step, I changed it to another step. It felt, it was difficult to keep it straightforward and organized.
Because there was so much material? Or?
There was a lot of material, there were a lot of anecdotes.
Right, yes. Yeah.
And my feelings kept changing also about what was important.
Oh, really? And so when you finally finished it and it was in its final form, what was the prompt that allowed you to say, that's it, I'm done, I'm sending it to did you send to an agent?
Yes.
Yes. And so how did you know you were at that point?
Perhaps I couldn't stand it anymore.
I've heard that before. Yes.
I felt like I did have it in good form. It was
okay. Did you have a structure for each chapter that was similar, with the anecdote first and then the...
No. It never occurred to me to be so organized and have such an outline. I think I was just much more, this is what I have to say, and let me try to get it out, and then I will edit it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's when you know you've got good material, because you're just going with what has to be said. And I downloaded the ebook. Do you find that people are buying in print or in ebook more?
I think more maybe the book itself, but it's coming out actually as an audiobook next month.
Oh, that could be useful. You could go for a stress-relieving walk.
Right.
And listen at the same time.
Or drive and listen to it at the same time.
Yeah. And so are there things that stepmothers, or even with boundary violations, things that people repeat, mistakes that are repeated, that you see all the time?
This is the typical stepmother that I've noticed. She's really bright, she's really attractive, she's charming, she's really successful, and very accomplished in lots of different ways. And that she then actually tries really hard to be a great stepmother, hits her head against the wall, and ends up depressed and exhausted. And frequently, I think the best advice that I give people is take a step back and stop working so hard. And because taking the kids to soccer is not going to get a stepchild to love a stepmother,
right.
or cooking or cleaning or doing any of those tasks.
So we can just stop all that.
Yeah, basically,
Just
yes.
stop cooking, stop the cleaning.
Yeah, and leave it to the bio dad. What really helps, I think, is having fun with stepchildren and accepting the fact that some relationships deepen over time and some don't. Having a relationship with a stepchild is no different than meeting a neighbor or a new relative on your husband's side. With some people, over time it gets much better, much more intimate, and with some people it doesn't. So I think stepmothers need to accept the fact it has to be an organic process.
So you have to accept the possibility that that child may never love you or may never feel the way you want them to feel.
According to research, only 20% of stepchildren feel close to their stepmothers. And part of that is because they may feel if they get close to the stepmother, they're being disloyal to their
own mother.
To their own mother.
Yes.
A lot of it has to do with personality. A stepchild and a stepmother can just have different interests. A stepkid could be a teenager and want to really is more focused on friends and has no interest in getting to know another adult.
No, and is just irritated by the demands of that person.